The explosions had started without warning. One moment, the lavish garden of the orbital palace was calm. The next, the sky split apart in a red blaze. Shimmering shields shattered above the estate. Servants screamed. The guards shouted in confusion. Weapons drawn too late. Kale, a human maintenance worker, was repairing a service conduit under the royal fountain when the alarms went off. He paused, sweat on his face, gripping his hydro spanner. The ground shook. He didn't know who was attacking. He only knew this wasn't part of his job. Footsteps thundered above as nobles rushed to their ships. Kale climbed up, just in time to see a royal hovercraft rise into the air only to explode mid-flight in a fireball. He ducked behind a statue. Debris raining around him. Get to the vault. Protect the heiress. Someone shouted. Kale glanced toward the tall glass towers in the distance. He didn't care about royalty. They never looked at humans like him, not unless something was broken. And yet, his eyes were pulled toward the rising spire, where the heiress was known to stay. He'd seen her once, Lady Thalira Vaughn. She had long silver hair, deep violet skin, and golden markings running along her temples. The tabloids called her the richest, most spoiled woman in the galaxy. Kale remembered her voice from a week ago. He had passed her in a corridor, carrying a dirty circuit board. She had looked him up and down, curled her lip, and muttered, "You're not even worth my purse." He hadn't said a word. Just kept walking. He knew his place. Now, explosions boomed closer. A troop of shadowed figures in black armor descended from attack pods, guns drawn. They were not palace guards. They were here for someone important. Kale didn't want to get involved. But his legs carried him toward the towers anyway. Inside, the halls were chaos. Staff ran, alarms flashed red, and smoke curled through the walls. Kale knew the service tunnels. He moved fast through them, past frightened workers and crumbling lights. He heard shouting up ahead and slipped behind a marble pillar. Lady Thalira was there, cornered by 2 enemy soldiers. Her guards were down. Her gold jewelry clinked as she backed into a wall, eyes wide but furious. "You dare touch me?" she screamed. "I'll have your minds erased." The soldiers raised their weapons. Kale moved on instinct. He grabbed a loose pipe and charged. The first soldier turned too late. Kale swung hard, the metal pipe cracking into his helmet. The second shot at him missed, then Kale tackled him, slamming his head into the floor. Silence. Lyra stared at the human, standing over the 2 attackers. Her breath was ragged. Kale stood still, panting. His shirt was torn. Blood dripped from his arm. He didn't say anything. "You," Thalira said slowly, recognizing him. "You're the cleaner or something." Kale didn't answer. He just looked down the hall. "We don't have long. They'll send more." She blinked, then lifted her chin. "You're right. Get me to the escape deck." Kale looked at her, half amused. "No please? No thank you?" She huffed. "Fine. Please, peasant." He turned and started walking. "You coming or not?" she followed with a glare. But he noticed the slight tremble in her hands. The palace was falling apart. Fires burned in the distance. Gunshots echoed from below. Kale took hidden paths, crawling through narrow vents, using lifts only staff knew. Every few steps, Thalira would complain: the dust, the tight spaces, the smell. He ignored her. They reached a hangar only to find it already under enemy control. A squad of black-armored soldiers was searching ships. "We're too late," Thalira whispered. Kale scanned the area. "There's a service crawler behind that wall. No weapons, no shields. But it might fly." "Might? You want to wait." "Here." She didn't answer. Kale led her to the crawler. It was rusty and groaned as it powered up. They slid inside. The door jammed. Kale kicked it shut. The engine sputtered. "Fly, you old bucket." he muttered, fingers dancing over manual controls. Do you even know how to pilot? She asked. Better than dying. The crawler lifted off just as a patrol noticed them. Gunfire blasted the metal hull. Kale veered left, nearly throwing Thalira into the wall. They escaped the palace through a maintenance tunnel. Behind them, the estate burned. The royal banners were falling. Something big was happening, something Kale didn't yet understand. Thalira sat quietly for a moment. Then she looked at him differently. You saved my life. Kale nodded, eyes on the stars. Why? She asked. He shrugged. Seemed like the right thing to do. She frowned, then glanced at his torn shirt and bleeding arm. I insulted you. Kale gave a short smile. I remember. He didn't ask for her apology, and she didn't give one. But for the first time, Lady Thalira Vaughn didn't look at him like he was less than her. And that silence between them, it said more than words ever could. Asterisk, the crawler shook with every jolt of space turbulence. Sparks popped from the control panel, and the warning lights glowed a deep orange. Kale leaned forward, hands gripping the manual sticks. Thalira clung to the side rail, her golden cuffs rattling. This thing is falling apart, she yelled. Kale didn't look at her. So is your palace. Be grateful this one still flies. They were drifting far from the orbital station now, into deep space. Behind them, the burning remains of the Vaughn estate flickered in the blackness. No distress signals worked. Communications were jammed. Kale had tried everything. Thalira crossed her arms and sat stiffly. Where are we even going? Kale tightened his jaw. There's an old mining colony 2 hours from here. Abandoned, but it might have supplies, shelter, maybe even work incomes, she huffed. A mining colony? With dirt and rust and commoners? Do you know who I am? Yes, I just don't care. She opened her mouth, then slowly shut it. That was new. No one had ever spoken to her like that. The silence stretched. Then Thalira leaned forward, her voice lower. I heard something before the attack. Whispers in the palace. My mother had secret meetings. She told me to stay away. Kale glanced at her. You think this attack was planned? I think it wasn't just a random strike, she said, eyes narrowed. They knew where I'd be. The guards were slow to react. And someone shut down the royal beacon manually, Kale exhaled. An inside job, she nodded. Someone wants the throne. And it's not me. I've never cared for power. That's obvious, Kale muttered. Lyra shot him a sharp look, but didn't argue. Hours passed. The crawler reached the edge of an asteroid belt, and Kale carefully threaded the path through a dark, silent rock of a moon. The mining colony appeared like a ghost from the past. Old domes, broken towers, flickering blue lights still pulsing after years of neglect. They landed hard, scraping against a rusted docking platform. Kale shut off the engine. We're alive, barely, she replied, brushing her silver hair back. They stepped into the colony. Dust swirled in the air. Doors creaked. Kale powered up a backup generator with a few taps and some sparks. Emergency lights flickered on. This place smells like decay, Thalira muttered. That's because it's dead. Kale found a control console. He wiped the dust and started scanning for outgoing signal access. Nothing worked. The system was too old, too damaged, but something else caught his eye, a message log left behind. Kale? Thalira stepped closer. What is it? He played a short video. A human worker in mining gear appeared on screen, his face pale, voice shaking. If you're seeing this, get out. They lied to us. There was something in the tunnels. It's not natural. We sealed it in Sector C before. We ran. Don't open the doors. Don't trust anyone. The royals knew. They paid us to keep quiet. We're not crazy. Just don't wake it. The message cut out. Silence fell in the dusty room. Kale turned slowly to Thalira. "What did your family hide down here?" She looked shocked. "I don't know. I swear. I thought this place was shut down for resource failure." Kale didn't reply. He was staring at the blinking screen. A new signal had appeared, a pulse from Sector C. Something was active. "Someone's alive," he said. "Or something," she whispered. They moved through the dark halls, past broken signs and half-buried mining suits. Sector C was locked. Behind 3 thick doors, Kale checked the controls. This was welded shut. From outside, Thalira stepped back. "You're not opening that, are you?" Someone sent a signal. "Or it's a trap." Kale paused, then looked at her. "Stay." "Here." "No." He blinked. "Excuse me?" I said no. I don't trust this place. And I don't trust you wandering off into danger alone. "Why? Because I'm your servant now?" "No," she said slowly. "Because you saved me once. And I might need you to do it again." He gave her a slight smile. "Well, that's new." Together, they unlocked the first 2 gates. Each groaned open with a horrible screech. The final door had a flickering panel. Kale held his breath and pressed the release dot with a hiss. The door opened, and a blast of cold, strange air rushed out. Beyond it, something moved in the dark. Not human, not machine, and definitely not friendly. A strange clicking sound echoed down the corridor. Kale held up a rusted metal bar in front of him, breathing carefully. Beside him, Thalira's expression shifted from annoyance to quiet fear. The cold air drifting from the open door smelled like old metal and something wrong. Almost like acid and dust had been fused together. He stepped forward slowly. The emergency lights overhead flickered, casting brief flashes over the corridor ahead. It stretched into darkness, pipes cracked open, and shattered glass littered the ground. A trail of thick, dark liquid, half-dried, half-glowing, streaked across the floor toward the shadows. "Don't step in that," Kale whispered. "What is it?" Thalira asked, her voice low. "Not oil, not blood either. I've never seen anything like it." They moved deeper into the corridor, following the weak pulsing signal from the console. The air grew colder. The temperature was far too low for a normal mining sector. Frost edged along the walls and ceilings like something had frozen time itself. Suddenly, something clattered behind them. They spun around. Nothing. But Kale swore he'd seen something tall move between the shadows, fast and silent. Thalira stepped closer to him. "I thought this place was abandoned." Kale nodded. "It was. Whatever's down here, it survived." They reached the last room, a chamber once used for deep core fusion drills. Now it looked more like a nest. Black slime clung to the walls. In pulsing ridges, strange markings had been clawed into the metal. The floor was covered in cracked bones, some alien, some clearly human. In the center was a large glass tank, broken and empty, surrounded by shattered restraints. Kale moved closer and found the signal source, a beacon half covered in slime, blinking weakly. "It was never a message from a survivor," Kale said. Slowly, it was bait. Behind them, something dropped from the ceiling. A tall, spindly creature landed without a sound. It stood twice the height of a man, with long arms that ended in hooked claws. Its skin was slick and black, like whetstone. Rows of red eyes blinked along its skull. Its mouth opened, revealing a second set of jaws twitching inside. Thalira screamed. Kale spun, swinging the metal bar with both hands. It crashed against the creature's face, barely making it flinch. The thing lunged, claws slicing the air. Kale shoved Thalira aside and rolled under a broken pipe. Sparks exploded around them. They ran. The creature shrieked and leaped after them, limbs moving in impossible angles. Kale and Thalira ducked into the side corridor, Kale slamming the manual lock. but the beast slammed into the door from the other side, denting it with one blow. It's not going to hold. Thalira shouted. Kale scanned the room. There's a lift shaft. They climbed up the maintenance ladder. The walls rattled below as the monster continued to attack the door. Each slam bent the metal a little more. Halfway up, Thalira lost her grip. Kale caught her wrist, holding her with one arm while clinging to the ladder with the other. His muscles screamed in pain. She looked at him, panting, shocked. Why? Why do you keep saving me? Kale grunted. Because you clearly don't know how to survive on your own. She stared at him, her violet eyes wide. He pulled her up and they reached the next level. The creature had lost them, at least for now. They sat in silence for a moment, catching their breath. I didn't know, Thalira said quietly. I didn't know my family allowed that thing to be created. Kale looked at her. You said your mother had secret meetings. Maybe it wasn't just politics. She nodded slowly. This wasn't an accident. They were experimenting here, weaponizing something alien, and it escaped. Kale stood and checked his wounds. We have to warn someone. That thing's not going to stay in the colony forever. There's a long-range transmitter in the command dome, she said. If we can reach it, we can call for help. Kale looked down the hallway. It was long, dark, and quiet, but they both knew they weren't alone anymore. Then we move fast, he said. And we don't split up. Thalira stood beside him, brushing dust from her once perfect dress. You're not what I expected. Human, she said softly. Kale gave a short laugh. You're not what I expected either, Heiress. Somewhere in the dark below, the creature let out a soft, echoing growl, and it was getting closer again. They moved fast through the upper levels of the old mining colony, boots echoing on steel. Kale had found a rusted pipe wrench for defense, and Thalira, surprisingly, carried a small energy pistol she had tucked in her sash. He glanced at her. You've been holding out on me? She shrugged. Every rich girl has secrets. Kale smirked but said nothing. The deeper they went into the command sector, the more disturbing the signs became. Walls slashed by claws, warning signs overridden, data logs with corrupted messages. Some corridors had been melted through as if by acid. They found a map console, half functioning. Kale tapped until it showed a route to the command dome. Just one hallway and a stairwell left. Then a distant sound made both of them freeze. Tick, tick, tick. Kale's grip tightened around the wrench. That thing walks like claws on glass. It's hunting us, Thalira whispered. It's not just wild, it's smart. Kale nodded. Then we don't stop. Come on. They ran toward the stairwell, breathing hard. But as they rounded a corner, the floor collapsed beneath them. They dropped fast, metal snapping and dust flying. Kale hit the ground first, groaning. Thalira landed next, twisting her ankle with a cry. Kale rushed to her, helping her sit up. Her face was pale, teeth clenched. You all right? I can move, but not fast. Then I'll carry you. Before she could argue, he scooped her into his arms. You're strong for a maintenance worker, she muttered. Carried heavier things than you through tighter spots. Despite the danger, she laughed softly. You really don't care who I am, do you? Nope, still don't. He moved carefully through the broken lower levels, carrying her. This part of the colony was different, stranger. The walls pulsed faintly with green light, almost organic in shape. Kale realized something. These were not built by humans. These tunnels had been added later. What is this place? He whispered. Thalira looked around. This isn't mining. This is containment. They reached a large circular chamber filled with tanks, some broken, some still sealed. Each held a dark, twitching shape inside, floating in green fluid. Kale stared. There's more than one of them. Thalira pressed her palm to the glass. They were breeding them. Then came the voice. It was your family's plan, wasn't it? They turned fast. A figure stepped from the shadows, tall, armored, face covered in a breathing mask. A black insignia glowed on his chest. Who are you? Cale demanded. I was security chief here. Before we were betrayed, the man replied. His voice was low and cracked. They paid us to guard these things, said they were for defense, but they lied. Thalira narrowed her eyes. And you stayed down here? I had no choice, he said. I was infected. One of them got me, but it didn't kill me. It changed me. Cale tightened his grip on Thalira. Changed how? I see what they see, hear what they hear. And I know what's coming. Thalira looked disturbed. What is coming? The man pointed toward the ceiling. They're waking up. All of them. The power surged from the crawler. Landing must have triggered the failsafes. You didn't just open one door. You unlocked everything. Cale swore under his breath. Then we need to shut it all down. The man shook his head. You can't. The only way is from the core control deep, beneath the colony. But it's locked behind biosignature, royal DNA. Thalira blinked. You mean mine? Yes, the man said. Your blood. Your command. Your family built this nightmare. Now it's your burden. She looked shaken, but slowly stood, limping on her hurt ankle. Then show me the way. Cale looked at her in surprise. You don't have to do this. Yes, she replied, voice firm. I do. I may not have started this mess, but I'm ending it. The old guard turned toward a back corridor. Then follow me. We don't have much time. From above, the now familiar clicking echoed again, louder this time. More than one set of claws. Cale looked up slowly. They're coming. The corridor narrowed as they followed the infected guard deeper into the forbidden core of the colony. The walls looked less like machines, now more like the inside of something alive. Tubes pulsed. The lights dimmed with every step. Cale walked beside Thalira, steadying her as she limped. Her face was pale but determined. Every few meters, she glanced back, afraid of what might follow. The clicks had stopped for now, but silence wasn't comforting. Silence meant stalking. This entire place is rotting, Cale muttered. Like it's alive and dying at the same time. The guard ahead didn't turn. It is? These creatures, they don't just kill. They grow. They turn machines organic. They infect systems. It's why we sealed Sector C, not just to trap them, but to stop the spread. Thalira's voice was low. Why did my mother do this? To win a war that never came, the guard replied. Your empire built monsters out of fear. Now they can't be controlled. The hallway opened into a massive circular room. It was the heart of the facility. A giant console sat in the center, shaped like a throne with wires tangled around it. Above it, a tube descended from the ceiling, filled with green fluid and something floating, one last dormant beast, larger than the others. Thalira froze. That one's different. Cale narrowed his eyes. It looks half-formed. The guard nodded. It's the first. The Alpha. If it wakes, the rest follow. You need to command the system to purge it. Only you have the genetic key. Thalira approached the console slowly. Her hand trembled. Cale stepped forward. You sure you want to do this? She looked back at him. I was born into power I never asked for, but maybe this is why. She pressed her hand to the console. It scanned her palm, then her eyes. Chime echoed. Lights around the room activated, systems spinning to life. Suddenly, alarms blared. Cale jumped. That's not good. The guard turned sharply. Something's overriding the command. A second screen lit up, red symbols flashing. Another voice came from above. Female, cold. Thalira Vaughn. You are not authorized to awaken the Alpha without High Council clearance. Override initiated. Thalira stared. That's my mother's voice? A hologram of the Empress appeared, her expression calm and cruel. If you are seeing this, then I am dead. That is unfortunate, but the Alpha must rise. The royal family must continue, and this is how we secure our rule. We no longer need subjects, we need weapons. Kale's stomach twisted. She meant to unleash it? She wanted to merge it. With her daughter, the guard whispered, royal blood. Royal control, you weren't just a ruler. You were the intended host. Thalira stepped back in horror. No, that can't be. The fluid in the Alpha's tube started to bubble. It was waking. Kale grabbed Thalira's arm. We have to go now. But the purge, it's too late for that. The guard moved toward a control panel. I'll try to delay it. You get to the emergency reactor, blow it. Kill the entire colony if you have to. Thalira hesitated. You'll die. I died long ago, the man said. Go. Kale didn't wait. He pulled Thalira down a side passage, dodging falling debris as the entire facility began to quake. They ran through flashing red lights, past broken machines and sparking walls. Creatures began emerging from the vents, small ones first, crawling like insects, eyes glowing red. Kale swung his wrench, smashing one off the wall. We need to move faster. Thalira gritted her teeth. I can't run. Kale didn't ask. He scooped her into his arms again and ran. The colony shook violently. Roars echoed from above. The Alpha was waking, and the other creatures were answering the call. They reached the reactor level, deep in the foundation of the colony. It was built like a last resort, a core of bright energy pulsing behind blast doors. Kale set Thalira down. Can you open it? She wiped blood from her lip, nodded, and placed her hand on the control. This will activate a countdown. We'll have 10 minutes to get to the crawler. He nodded. Then let's end this. The door hissed open. Inside, the reactor glowed like a sun. Outside, in the shadows, the Alpha screamed loud and furious, and the hunt began again. The reactors. Countdown began with a cold, emotionless voice echoing through the speakers. Core detonation in 10 minutes. Kale turned from the glowing chamber, sweat dripping down his face. We need to get out now. Thalira leaned against the wall, her body trembling. Her injured ankle had worsened, and she could barely put weight on it anymore. But she didn't complain. She looked back one last time at the pulsing energy behind the thick glass walls. That thing. My mother wanted me to become it, she whispered. Kale touched her arm gently. You're not her. You chose to stop it. That's what matters. Suddenly, a deep roar shook the floor. Then came the clicking faster now, louder. Kale grabbed her hand. Move. They raced back through the narrow tunnels, the entire colony rumbling above and below. Lights flickered, systems failed, and gas hissed from broken pipes. Creatures poured out of the walls, crawling, leaping, screeching. Kale fought them off with raw instinct. He swung his wrench, slammed doors behind them, and used every trick the old maintenance routes had to offer. Thalira used her small pistol, blasting anything that got too close. Her aim was surprisingly good. The spoiled heiress from before was gone. This woman was a fighter. They reached the lift shaft again, but it was dead. Power offline. Kale cursed. No time to fix it. He looked at the narrow emergency ladder and then at Thalira's leg. She was already shaking her head. I can't climb that. Not in time. Kale didn't hesitate. He wrapped his arms around her once more. I've got you. I'm not light, you know, she muttered, flushed. I've lifted heavier engines. She smirked despite herself. He climbed fast. Metal groaned beneath them. Behind, something shrieked and started scaling the shaft. Kale didn't look back. Floor after floor passed in a blur dot above, the exit hatch came into view. He reached it, kicked it open, and pulled them both out into the loading bay. The crawler was still there, barely functional, smoke trailing from its vents. Go! Kale yelled. He helped Valera inside, then jumped in after her, slamming the hatch shut behind them. The creature reached the bay just as Kale started the ignition. It roared, black claws slashing the metal. The crawler lifted off. Kale gritted his teeth as they shot through a collapsing tunnel. Rocks fell around them. Fire burst from side vents. Valera looked behind through the rear screen. The Alpha had emerged. It was enormous, its body a mix of bone, black armor, and metal, its mouth split in three. Its red eyes locked on them. Kale punched the throttle. Hold on. They blasted out of the mining colony as the clock hit 0. Behind them, the entire moon erupted. A silent shockwave lit up space, a sphere of light consuming the colony in a brilliant flash. The crawler was flung forward, engines straining. Kale fought to stabilize the ship. Inside, sparks flew from the control panel. Systems died. The hull groaned. We're not going to make it, Valera shouted. Kale narrowed his eyes. Yes, we are. He switched to manual, guiding the crawler toward a drifting satellite station nearby. Half dead, but still within reach, they crashed into the docking bay, scraping metal and flipping sparks into the air. The crawler shuddered and went dark. Silence followed. Kale slumped forward, breathing hard. We're alive. Valera lay against his shoulder, panting. Then, softly, she said, You saved me again. You keep needing saving, he replied, smiling weakly, and you keep showing up. She whispered. He looked at her, really looked at her. The fire in her eyes, the dust on her face, the strength she had found inside herself. She wasn't just an heiress anymore. I think, Kale said quietly, you're finally worth more than your purse. She laughed. And for the first time since this all began, it was real. The emergency lights flickered dimly inside the derelict satellite station. Kale sat on the cold metal floor, back against a support beam, trying to fix a broken COM panel with the last of his tools. His hands were cut, fingers shaking from exhaustion. Valera sat nearby, wrapping her injured ankle with strips torn from her elegant sash. Despite everything, she still held a strange kind of poise. Her silver hair was messy, her royal dress singed and stained, but her eyes were clear. Tried contacting the nearest patrol fleet, Kale said. Signals too weak. The crawler's antennas were fried in the blast. Then we're stranded? She asked softly. Not for long, he replied. Somebody definitely saw that explosion. Half the galaxy probably did. She didn't. Speak for a moment, then, when they come, and they realize what happened down there, they'll blame your family, Kale finished for her. Valera nodded. And they should. He watched her carefully. You had no part in creating those things. No, she said, looking down. But I wore the name. I lived in the palace. I thought I was above the rest of the galaxy. Now I see how blind I was. Kale leaned forward. You weren't blind, just trapped. She looked up. And you? What happens to you when they arrive? Kale smirked. They'll probably throw me back into the maintenance corps, or prison, who knows? No, she said firmly. Not if I speak for you, not if I make them listen. He shook his head. I'm just a human grease monkey. You're the Von heiress. I was, she said. But I don't want to be that person anymore. And I don't want to go back. Alone. They stared at each other in silence. Then a sound buzzed over the COM speaker static. Then a faint voice. Unknown vessel, respond. You're in restricted space. Identify yourself. Kale leapt forward, adjusting the frequency. This is Cale Harn, maintenance technician. We're survivors of the moon colony detonation. 2 aboard, 1 injured. There was a pause, then a sharper voice responded. You're not authorized to be in that zone, Cale. Explain the explosion. Cale glanced at Thalira, then pressed the button. We stopped something the Vaughn family created. It would have spread. It was a nightmare. Another. Paused out, then the voice returned, slower. Stand by. Boarding team en route. Prepare for questioning. The transmission ended. Cale leaned back. Here it comes. Thalira stood slowly and walked to him. Her limp was still there, but she moved. With strength now, you'll be protected, she said. By me. They won't touch you. He raised an eyebrow. You really think they'll believe us? They'll believe the truth, she replied, and if they don't, we'll make them. A few hours later, the boarding team arrived, 4 soldiers in white armor with gold trim. Behind them came an officer with sharp eyes and a scanning device. They recognized Thalira instantly and stiffened. My lady. One gasped. Boeing. Tha Lyra stepped forward, raising a hand. No more of that. I have a statement to give about my mother. About the monsters. About the colony. Cale stood beside her. The soldiers glanced at him with uncertainty. And him? The officer asked. Thalira answered firmly. He saved me. He stopped a nightmare. I owe him my life. They hesitated, then nodded. Later, in a clean medical bay aboard the rescue ship, Thalira lay resting as Cale sat beside her, freshly bandaged and clean for the first time in days. So, he said, what now? You take back your throne? Rebuild. Your empire? She turned her head. No, I dismantle it. He blinked. I'm dissolving the Vaughn holdings. Giving it to the refugees, the wounded worlds. I'll face the tribunal if I must. But I won't live in gold while others suffer. Cale was silent. Then he gave a short nod. You're braver than I thought. She smiled. So are you? He laughed. I'm not starting a revolution. I'm just a guy who fixed pipes. No, she said. You're the man who changed the course of an empire. She reached out and took his hand. For once, there was no mocking, no pride, no games. Just warmth and quiet understanding.